Welcome to the deep dive. Looks like you've been digging into the future of work.
Yeah, a lot of information out there.
You've got a ton here, articles, research papers, even some personal notes. We're here to help you kind of synthesize all that and pull out those really key insights and maybe uncover some aha moments along the way.
You bet.
One of the themes that really jumped out from all of your research was this idea of work-life balance.
Yeah.
I got to be honest, I used to think that work-life balance was just a buzzword, you know, something people said but didn't really mean.
Right.
But then I hit a wall a few years back. I was burning the candle at both ends, and I realized, like, this is not sustainable.
Yeah.
So what does real work-life balance actually look like?
Well, it's not just about clocking out at 5 p.m.
Wow.
It's about actively and consciously managing your energy and your focus between those professional demands and your personal life.
Okay.
Your sources actually had some really interesting research on this.
Oh, yeah?
Especially when it comes to preventing burnout.
Okay. One study found that employees who set really clear boundaries around work communication outside of work hours reported significantly lower levels of stress and higher job satisfaction.
So it's not just about, like, taking a break. It's about setting those boundaries.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I have a friend who actually uses an app that automatically silences all of her work notifications after 6 p.m.
Oh, wow.
She swears by it.
That's great.
Yeah, she's like, this has been a game changer for my sanity.
I bet. I could see that.
Does your research touch on remote work at all?
Definitely.
Okay.
A lot of your research touches on the rise of remote work and how it's impacting our lives.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you have incredible flexibility.
Right.
No more soul-crushing commutes.
Oh, yeah.
Potentially working in your pajamas.
Right.
I know somebody who swears that they're way more productive working from a coffee shop than they ever were in an office.
I am the opposite.
Really?
I need to be in a space that's like, my office.
Otherwise, I can't focus.
Yeah.
I do love the flexibility of working remotely, but I do miss that social interaction that you get from being in an office.
Right.
And I think when you're working from home, it can be really hard to switch off at the end of the day.
That's a really great point, and it is something that a lot of experts are grappling with.
Yeah.
Your research highlights the importance of having a dedicated workspace.
Okay.
Even if it's just a corner of your living room.
Yeah.
And just like we talked about with email, setting those boundaries around work hours is crucial.
Right.
When your office is also your home.
You have to create that mental separation.
Definitely.
Otherwise, work just bleeds into every aspect of your life.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But all this talk about remote work makes me think about the job market in general. Things are changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
Technology is changing so rapidly, it feels like the skills you need to succeed are constantly evolving.
Yeah.
What are your sources saying about that?
Well, that's one of the most important takeaways from your research. Yeah.
Adaptability and continuous learning are no longer optional.
Yeah.
They're essential.
Right.
One article actually uses this great phrase, learn the ropes, as a metaphor for this constant need to upskill and reskill.
I like that, learn the ropes.
Yeah.
It's like you're always, kind of climbing, reaching for that next level.
Exactly.
What are some of the specific skills that keep coming up in your research?
Well, digital literacy is a big one.
Okay.
And it's not just about knowing how to use social media or send an email.
Yeah.
It's about really understanding how technology is impacting your field and being able to adapt and use those tools effectively.
Okay.
Think about how artificial intelligence is changing everything.
Yeah.
From marketing to medicine.
It's true.
You don't necessarily need to be a programmer.
Right.
But you do need to understand how AI works.
Yeah.
And how it might impact your job.
It's like we're all becoming tech translators in a way.
That's a good way to put it.
Bridging the gap between the technology and then its application in our work.
Yeah.
It's not just AI, right?
Right.
What about data analysis, coding, even things like creative problem solving?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Data's everywhere these days.
Yeah.
And the ability to analyze and interpret that data is becoming increasingly valuable across all industries.
Okay.
And coding, well, it's almost like the new literacy.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a software developer, understanding the basics of code can give you a huge advantage.
It's interesting because so many people think, coding, that's just for techies.
Right.
But it really is becoming a fundamental skill.
It is.
Like knowing how to read and write.
Exactly.
And what about those softer skills like creative problem solving?
More important than ever.
Really?
Your research actually suggests that skills like critical thinking, communication, and collaboration are becoming even more important as automation takes over those routine tasks.
Okay.
It's the human element, the ability to think outside the box and come up with those really innovative solutions.
Yeah.
That will set us apart in the future of work.
So it's not just about those hard skills, it's about that unique human touch.
It is.
That spark of creativity.
Yeah.
It's like even in a world of robots and algorithms, those human qualities are what make us truly valuable.
Absolutely.
All this talk about skills and technology makes me think about the bigger picture of equality in the workplace. What are your sources saying about that?
Well, you're hitting on a really crucial point.
Yeah.
Creating a truly inclusive and equitable workplace is essential.
Right.
Not just for ethical reasons, but for economic reasons as well.
Okay.
Your research highlights the benefits of diversity in driving innovation and better decision-making.
Yeah.
Companies with diverse leadership teams actually tend to outperform their less diverse counterparts.
It's amazing how we're still having these conversations about gender equality in the workplace.
Right.
It's like you think by now things would be more balanced.
Right.
But I guess we still have a ways to go.
We do.
What are some of the things companies can do to really promote gender equality?
Your sources offer some really concrete steps.
Okay.
Things like conducting regular pay audits to ensure equal pay for equal work.
Yeah.
Establishing mentorship programs specifically for women.
Okay.
And, of course, actively encouraging diversity at all levels of leadership.
I remember reading a study about how unconscious bias can play a role in hiring and promotion decisions.
Absolutely.
Even if we think we're being fair, those hidden biases can still creep in.
They do. And that's why it's so important to be aware of those biases and to really try to implement systems and processes that help to mitigate them.
Okay.
One of your sources talks about blind recruitment, where you remove identifying information from resumes.
Right.
So that hiring managers are focusing solely on skills and experience.
It's like leveling the playing field.
It is.
Removing those potential roadblocks.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how all this knowledge translates into a real-world situation.
Okay.
Maybe we can put ourselves in the shoes of someone preparing for the IELTS speaking test. You know, it's one thing to understand these concepts, but it's another to be able to articulate them effectively, especially in a high-pressure situation like an exam.
Absolutely.
So let's imagine ourselves sitting in that exam room.
Okay.
And the examiner throws out a question like, why do people change jobs so frequently these days? How would you tackle that one?
Well, I would definitely draw on some of the things we've discussed today.
Okay.
I might talk about the changing nature of work, the desire for better opportunities, higher salaries, and, of course, the ever-elusive work-life balance.
Right. You can even bring in the concept of learning the ropes.
Yeah.
How people are constantly needing to upskill and adapt to stay relevant in the job market.
Definitely.
What about a question that's a little more specific?
Okay.
Like, what are some of the challenges people face when working remotely?
How would you approach that one?
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
We could talk about the importance of setting boundaries.
Right.
The potential for isolation and the difficulties of collaboration when you're not physically together.
It's interesting to think about how all these themes we've been talking about, work-life balance, remote work, evolving skills, they're not just abstract concepts.
Right.
They're real-life challenges that people are facing every day.
Absolutely.
As we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, I'm curious what's one key takeaway that's really resonating with you right now?
For me, it's the idea that we're not just passive bystanders in the future of work.
Yeah.
We have the power to shape it, to create a world of work that aligns with our values and our aspirations.
That's a great point to end on.
Yeah.
It's not about just adapting to change. It's about actively designing the future we want.
Exactly.
And that's a pretty empowering thought.
It is. There's so much more to uncover, so make sure you come back for part 2.
Yes.
Where we'll continue to dive deep into this fascinating world of work and employment.
Sounds good. One of the things that's really striking about your research is the sheer scope of change happening in the world of work.
Yeah, it's not just like, we're tweaking things around the edges anymore.
Right.
It feels like a fundamental shift.
Exactly. And that's where having a framework, a way to make sense of it all, becomes so crucial.
Okay.
One of the frameworks that really stood out to me in your sources is this idea of the skills economy.
Okay.
It's this idea that we're shifting away from thinking about traditional jobs.
Right.
To focusing on the underlying skills those jobs require.
Okay, so instead of saying I want to be a lawyer,
Yeah.
I'd say I want to develop skills in, critical thinking, argumentation, legal research.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that these skills are becoming more transferable across different roles and even industries.
Right, so it's like having a Swiss Army knife of skills that you can kind of apply in different contexts.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
But how do you actually identify those core skills, especially with the job market changing so rapidly?
Right. Well, that's where things get really interesting. Several of your sources suggested using this technique called skills mapping.
Skills mapping.
It's like creating a personal inventory of your existing skills and then comparing that to the skills that are in high demand in your field or the fields you're interested in exploring.
So it's kind of like taking stock of your strengths and then looking at the market to see where those strengths align with opportunities.
Exactly.
I like that it feels very proactive.
It is.
But what about those skills gaps?
Right.
What if you identify skills that you need, but you don't currently have?
That's where the continuous learning piece comes in.
Right.
Your sources were packed with resources, online courses, boot camps, mentorship programs, designed to help people upskill or reskill in specific areas.
So it's like the education landscape itself is adapting to this need for more agile learning.
Yeah.
You don't have to go back to school for 4 years. You can kind of pick and choose those specific skills that you need and learn them on your own terms.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that employers are increasingly valuing these alternative forms of education. It's not just about having a fancy degree anymore.
Yeah.
It's about demonstrating that you have the skills they need, whether you learn them in a traditional classroom or online.
It's almost like a democratization of learning in a way.
It is.
Where access to knowledge and skills is becoming more widespread.
Definitely.
What are some of the specific fields or industries that keep popping up in your research as, areas of growth?
Well, it's no surprise that anything related to technology is booming.
Right.
But it's not just about coding.
Okay.
Data science, cybersecurity, AI ethics. These are all fields that are experiencing explosive growth. And what's interesting is that these fields often require a blend of technical skills and those soft skills.
So it's like that intersection of technology and human ingenuity is where the magic happens.
I like that.
But it's not just about tech, is it?
No.
What about fields like healthcare education, even the creative industries?
Those fields are also undergoing major transformations.
Okay.
In healthcare, for example, there's this growing demand for professionals who can navigate that intersection of technology and patient care.
Okay.
Telehealth nurses, data analysts who can interpret health trends, even ethicists who can grapple with the implications of AI in medicine.
So every field is being touched by technology in some way, shape, or form.
It is.
It's exciting, but also a little daunting,
It is, and that's why I think one of the most valuable insights from your research is this emphasis on mindset.
Okay.
It's not just about acquiring specific skills.
Right.
It's about cultivating this growth mindset.
Okay.
A willingness to embrace change.
Yeah.
And to see those challenges as opportunities for learning.
It's like that old saying, the only constant is change.
Right.
But instead of fearing it, we need to lean into it.
Yeah.
Become lifelong learners who are constantly adapting and evolving.
I agree.
But, with all this focus on skills and technology, it's easy to forget about the human element of work.
Yeah.
What are your sources saying about topics like, job satisfaction, work culture, even the meaning and purpose that we derive from our work?
Those are excellent points. And your research actually dedicates a lot of space to these human-centric aspects of work.
Okay.
One study even suggested that the future of work isn't just about automation.
Right.
It's about augmentation.
Augmentation.
Using technology to enhance human capabilities.
Okay.
And to create more fulfilling and meaningful work experiences.
So instead of robots replacing humans, it's about robots working alongside humans.
Exactly.
Allowing us to focus on those tasks that require, uniquely human skills.
Right.
Spatiality, empathy, critical thinking.
Yeah, and that brings us to another interesting concept that emerged from your research.
Yeah.
The idea of job crafting.
Job crafting?
Yeah, have you heard of that?
I haven't. What is that?
So it's this idea that you don't have to passively accept the job description as it's written.
Okay.
You can actively shape your role to better align with your strengths, your interests, your values.
Okay, so give me an example.
Sure. So let's say you're a marketing assistant who loves data analysis.
Okay.
You could proactively seek out opportunities to use those skills in your current role.
Okay.
Maybe by suggesting a new way to track campaign performance.
Right.
Or volunteering to help analyze customer data.
So it's about taking ownership of your career.
It is.
Not just waiting for opportunities to come to you, but actively seeking them out.
Right.
And shaping your role to be more fulfilling.
Exactly. And that proactive approach is becoming increasingly important in a world where traditional career paths are becoming more fluid. One of your sources even suggests thinking of your career as a portfolio of skills and experiences.
Oh, interesting.
Rather than a linear ladder to climb.
Okay, so it's not about moving up the ranks. It's about kind of expanding your skill set, your network, your impact.
Exactly.
It's almost like you're becoming a freelancer of your own career.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And it highlights the importance of self-management, personal branding, even entrepreneurship in the future of work.
Okay.
One article even suggests that everyone, regardless of their job title, needs to develop this entrepreneurial mindset.
Entrepreneurial mindset, okay.
A willingness to take risks, be resourceful, and constantly seek out new opportunities.
So we're all becoming CEOs of our own careers in a way.
In a way we are.
Responsible for our own development and growth.
Yeah.
But all this talk about individual empowerment makes me think about the role of companies and organizations in shaping the future of work.
Yeah. What are your sources saying about that?
Yeah. What are they saying?
Well, your research highlights some key areas where companies can make a real difference.
Okay.
One is creating a culture of learning and development.
Okay.
Where employees are encouraged and supported in their efforts to upskill and reskill.
It's like companies are realizing that investing in their employees' well-being and development isn't just the right thing to do.
Right.
It's also good for business.
It is.
There's also a growing recognition of the importance of purpose and meaning in the workplace.
Absolutely.
Companies that can articulate a clear mission, vision, and values, and then connect that to the work that their employees are doing on a daily basis, are likely to attract and retain top talent.
For sure.
It's like people are craving more than just a paycheck these days.
Right.
They want to feel like their work matters, that they're contributing to something bigger than themselves.
I agree.
All this talk about purpose and meaning makes me think about the role of technology in our lives.
Yeah.
Is technology helping us find meaning in our work, or is it getting in the way?
That's a great question, and one that your sources grapple with quite a bit.
Okay.
On the one hand, technology can free us from those really mundane tasks.
Right.
Give us more time to focus on the things that bring us joy and fulfillment. But on the other hand, it can also create a sense of distraction, overwhelm, even alienation.
It's like that double-edged sword again.
It is.
Technology can be such a powerful tool for good, but it can also be misused or even abused.
It can.
So how do we strike that balance?
Yeah.
How do we use technology to enhance our work lives without letting it control us?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
And I don't think there's a simple answer.
Right.
But one of the most important things we can do is to be mindful of our relationship with technology.
Okay.
To set boundaries, to create space for reflection and disconnection.
Yeah.
And to remember that technology is a tool, not a master.
It's like we need to develop a digital detox plan.
I like that.
Carve out those tech-free zones where we can reconnect with ourselves, with nature, with the things that truly matter.
For sure.
All this talk about technology and the future of work can feel a little abstract. Maybe we could bring it back down to earth a bit by revisiting those IELTS practice questions.
Okay.
Remember we were talking about how to tackle a question like, why do people change jobs so frequently these days?
Right.
How would you approach that question now?
Well, I would start by acknowledging that job hopping has become increasingly common.
Yeah.
And then offer a few potential explanations.
Okay.
I could talk about the rise of the gig economy, the changing nature of work, the desire for greater flexibility and work-life balance.
Right.
I might even bring in the concept of job crafting.
Okay.
And how people are actively seeking out roles that better align with their skills, interests, and values.
You've touched on several key themes from our discussion.
I have.
What about that other question we were discussing? What are some of the challenges people face when working remotely?
That's a good one.
How would you approach that one?
I think I would start by acknowledging the many benefits of remote work.
Okay.
Like flexibility and autonomy.
Right.
But then pivot to some of the potential downsides.
Okay.
I might talk about the challenges of maintaining those work-life boundaries. The potential for social isolation.
Right.
And the difficulties of collaborating effectively when you're not physically together.
So you're presenting a balanced perspective,
Yeah.
acknowledging both the pros and the cons of remote work.
Exactly.
It's like we're taking all this knowledge that we've gained from our deep dive and turning it into actionable insights that we can apply in real-world situations.
Exactly. And it highlights the importance of staying informed, engaged, and curious about the world of work.
For sure.
The future of work is constantly evolving.
It is.
And those who are willing to adapt, learn, and grow will be the ones who thrive.
So as we wrap up this second part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
what's one key takeaway that's really sticking with you?
For me, it's the realization that the future of work isn't something that's happening to us.
Okay.
It's something we're creating together.
Right.
And that's both exciting and a little daunting.
It is. It's like we're all co-authors of this grand experiment.
I like that.
And the choices we make today will shape the world of work for generations to come.
Absolutely.
There's still so much more to explore, so make sure you come back for part 3.
Definitely.
Where we'll continue to unravel the mysteries of work and employment in the 21st century. It's amazing how much ground we've covered in our deep dive into the future of work.
It really is, we've talked about work-life balance, the skills economy, the importance of purpose and meaning at work.
And it feels like all these trends and ideas that we've been discussing are interconnected.
Oh, they are. It's not like these are separate silos.
Right.
It's all part of this larger tapestry.
Yeah, it's like we've been weaving together all these different threads, and now we're starting to see the bigger picture. Yeah. One of the things that keeps coming up for me is this idea of agency,
Yes.
Individual empowerment.
That's so important.
It's like in the past, work was often seen as something that was done to you.
Right.
You got a job, you punched a clock, you followed orders.
Yeah.
But now it feels like we have more control, more choice, more opportunity to shape our own work lives.
I think that's a really good observation. And, it requires a different mindset.
Right.
A different set of skills.
What do you mean?
Well, it's not enough to just be good at what you do.
Yeah.
You need to be adaptable, resourceful. You need to be constantly learning and evolving.
So you need to be able to market yourself, build relationships, create opportunities.
Exactly. It's like we're all becoming entrepreneurs of our own careers in a way.
Responsible for our own success and fulfillment.
That's right. And, it's not just about individual empowerment.
Okay.
It's also about collective action.
What do you mean?
We need to work together to create a future of work that is equitable and sustainable,
right,
where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
We've talked a lot about the exciting possibilities of this new world of work.
We have.
But what about the challenges?
Yeah. There's some potential pitfalls that we need to be thinking about.
Like what?
Well, one of the biggest ones is the widening skills gap.
Okay.
Technology is advancing at such a rapid pace.
Yeah.
And there's this growing disconnect
between
the skills that employers need and the skills that workers possess.
And that's especially true in fields like technology, healthcare, and manufacturing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where there's this really high demand for workers with very specialized skills.
So how do we bridge that gap?
Continuous learning is essential.
Right.
But we also need to invest in education and training programs that are really aligned with the needs of the labor market.
Okay.
We need to create pathways for workers to reskill and upskill. Through traditional education institutions or through alternative models like boot camps and online courses.
And it's not just about those technical skills. It's also about those soft skills.
Yes, very important.
Like communication, collaboration, critical thinking.
Those are becoming increasingly valuable as automation takes over those more routine tasks.
Exactly. And we also need to be thinking about how to create a more inclusive and equitable workplace.
Yes.
Where everyone has an opportunity to succeed regardless of their background.
That's so important.
These are all big challenges.
They are.
And they're not going to be easy to solve.
But I think we can do it.
Yeah.
If we work together, we can create a future of work that is both prosperous and fulfilling.
It's going to require a lot of collaboration and innovation and creativity.
It will.
But I do believe we have the potential to create a world of work that is truly transformative.
Absolutely. And I think the work you've been doing by diving deep into these issues is a really important part of that process.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I've certainly learned a lot from this deep dive.
Me too.
Any final words of advice for someone who's feeling overwhelmed by all the changes happening in the world of work?
I would say embrace the uncertainty.
Okay.
The future of work isn't something that we can predict with 100% certainty.
Right.
There are going to be surprises, challenges, opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're willing to be flexible, adaptable, open to new possibilities.
Yeah.
The future of work holds so much potential.
It really does.
For growth, fulfillment, and impact.
So embrace the uncertainty. Stay curious. Never stop learning.
That's it.
And remember, the future of work is not something that's happening to us.
Yeah.
It's something that we are creating together.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the future of work.
It's been a pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine, and to our listeners, thank you for diving deep with us.
Yes, thank you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep shaping the future of work.